Next thing to do is we are going to cut the original shock mounts off. On the front they stick out because the frame gets more narrow. On the back right here they're kind of like molded into the frame there. You can just barely see them. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to take my Dremel and a sanding bit, a sanding attachment, and I'm going to grind those down to where they are gone. Then we can mount the 4x4 shocks. So we're going to cut these off first, and then we will grind the rest of it down. Alright, so you can see there, got all of those ground down to where they are gone and out of the way. So that just needs to be touched up with some flat black, just for aesthetic purposes. You won't be able to see it anyway after you mount the body on it, but I want to make it look as nice as possible. So next step is doing the shock mounts. Get it turned correctly. Now these looks like the back ones we will mount under. Let me see how this looks real quick. So if you're seeing what I'm seeing here, this is a problem that I'll have to address for the rear shocks. Is once that shock's inserted into the hole, it's not touching the chassis. So what we can do is get us a piece of a tree like this, and so I'll get the front ones glued on today, and then we'll find a piece of tree to glue back here to make shock mounts for the rear to finish up this video. So we'll take those out and we will get the front ones back where they were, and we'll do all the front ones today. So that shock right there was being a little aggravating about actually sticking to the frame. Just trying to hang off a bit, and I wanted it to have a good contact. Got that taken care of. Looked at the other ones, they look great. So it's just a matter of letting those dry. So now I'm going to pause the camera and find a piece that we can mount the shocks to in the rear, and then we will be right back to hopefully get that glued in place. So I looked through my parts box and found this tree right here. It does have a part on it. I had another part here. I went ahead and threw that in the box. But if I put this right here just to size it up and see what it's going to look like, That is literally the perfect fit. I would love for it to be thinner, but sometimes you just gotta use what you can work with. And so what we're gonna do is this line right here is where the original drive shaft for the rear mounted on the bottom side. You see that hole right there? That's where it actually plugged into. So we are going to cut this that length, clean it all up, and just have these two pieces the same length sticking here. And that way the shocks will come up. This will be on the bottom. This whole thing will be on the bottom side. And then the shocks will touch the front and back of it, connecting it, the drive shaft to the chassis. So I'll be right back after I clean that up and show you what I ended up with. So I went ahead and carefully glued the bottom of the shocks. They've been there long enough to be tacky, and so I hope that a little bit of glue on top that dries, that'll help hold those in place while I got the chassis upside down. So this is what I ended up making from that tree. Just a nice little piece that will fit where the original axle would have mounted and make me a shock mount for these 4x4 shocks. So what we're going to do is get a little bit of glue in this hole here. And then we're going to slide this guy in here. Set it down. And I've already dry fit it off camera just to see how it was going to look and fit. And I've decided that the angle that it just rests at will be fine. Actually, will give me another glue point on the chassis once this is dry, to where I can glue it to the chassis and make it a little more solid. And the shocks are going to mount. Let's see if you can see it. Yes. The shocks are going to mount on the inside right here. One on the front and one close to the back of this. And that will be the shock mounts for that. It'll be painted flat black like everything else. And it'll blend right in. And when you put the body on it, again, won't even know it's there. So that's that for that modification. Now that, unlike the shocks that I put in the front, it's going to have to sit overnight. That way I can turn it back up the right way and mount the shocks in to get the correct alignment.